welcome back. This is Dr. Mark, and you are listening to RxTales, your #1 source for pharmaceutical infotainment on the World Wide Web. Today, we are looking through the RxGraveyard. We're going to go wander through the spooky cemetery of drugs that are no longer with us. Let's face it, drugs can be scary. And not just the ones that you're taught to fear in those cheesy after-school specials. No, every drug is deadly if you take enough of it. But I'm talking about prescription drugs, the chemicals that we use to improve our health or ease the symptoms of disease. While some are exceedingly safe, others, well, not so much. What seems like a good idea at the time can sometimes turn out to have deadly consequences. In this episode, I'll be examining some of the scariest and most unsettling pharmaceuticals ever prescribed. But don't worry, these drugs can't hurt you anymore. You see, they've all been taken off the market in the US for now. So lock your medicine cabinet, secure those childproof caps, and come with me to the RxGraveyard. All right, first drug that we're going to exhume on our scary Halloween episode is Methaqualone. So this requires a bit of backstory. In the early 1950s, despite a half century of scientific advancement, the drugs we were using to treat anxiety and mental illness were basically the same ones we've had since before World War I. Barbiturates and chloral hydrate. These drugs were very powerful sedatives. They were also highly addictive and very deadly in overdose. In the 1950s, science was giving us all kinds of new innovation, and drugs were no exception. Researchers in the post-war era were racing to find new chemicals that could replace these antiquated remedies. Drugs that could actually relieve anxiety with less likelihood of killing you in the process. So the first big breakthrough came in 1955 with the launch of meprobamate. Meprobamate was similar to the barbiturates, but a lot milder. The effect was more like turning down a dimmer switch versus turning off a circuit breaker. Meprobamate, under the brand name Miltown, found huge success in Hollywood, and it was promoted by a lot of celebrities at the time, including Milton Berle, who was a very famous TV personality, and they called him Uncle Milty. He was in everybody's household at night. He even joked that he should change his name to Uncle Miltown, and he recommended the drug on his program using his gigantic televised platform. The result? Sales boomed in America, whose appetite for amphetamine was growing at a staggering rate, and they wanted a mild sedative to take the edge off. Well, that's how it got started. So let's get to Quaaludes. Methaqualone, or Quaalude, it was first synthesized in 1951 by scientists in India who were looking for a new malaria treatment. Now, what they found instead was a powerful sedative that by 1965 was the most popular downer in the UK. Over here in the US, Methaqualone gets launched in about 1965 by F.H. Rohrer. It's a small manufacturer in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. And Rohrer decides to call the product Quaalude. They came up with that name. And it's kind of a portmanteau, if you will. It's a combination of the words quiet interlude. And the double A in the spelling was actually a nod to another product that they made called Maalox, named for its two components, magnesium and aluminum oxide. What made Quaalude so unique was its powerful effects and strong addictive characteristics. Throughout the 70s, Quaalude achieved a monstrous level of fame and notoriety as a party drug. It found its way into the lyrics of a lot of popular music. Here's just a few examples.
Now they call you Prince Charming. Can't speak a word when you're full of blues. Cosmic the girls got great big titties. Got some Quaaludes in their purse, they won't give me none.
Not only that, it appears in movies, film and television, both from 70s and early 80s, and also in modern films. You know, Quaaludes have this really big nostalgia. And if all you knew about that drug is from watching The Wolf of Wall Street, you might get the wrong impression. You see, it wasn't all fun and games. Comedian Freddie Prinze, you've probably heard of Freddie Prinze Jr., this was his dad. He was a stand-up comic, and he was addicted to Quaaludes. Early on in his career, a very young guy, his marriage dissolved as a direct consequence of his drug use. And he was so addicted, he actually ended up taking his own life in 1977 to escape the hell of Quaalude addiction. He was only 22 years old. Trigger warning here. Quaalude also gained a reputation as a date rape drug. Roman Polanski and more recently Bill Cosby both admitted to drugging victims with Quaalude in order to commit sexual assault. So by the late 70s, Quaalude was causing more problems than solutions. And so the DEA moved it up to Schedule II, making it a lot more restricted. However, the company that manufactured it, Rohr, very frustrated by how misused their drug wasn't their intention, and they ended up selling the patent to another company named Lemon Pharmaceuticals. And Lemon became kind of famous or infamous. Even they were referred to as lemons or 714s on the street. But in 1984, Congress actually passed a law that moved methaqualone into Schedule I, effectively banning its use nationwide. So Quaalude completely disappeared at that time from U.S. pharmacy shelves, but its manufacture continued in less regulated nations and also in illegal clandestine labs. Today, methaqualone is buried in the graveyard of Rx history. The Quaalude was only on the market for 19 years, but its horrors remain long after its demise. The second drug that I want to scare you with on this frightening tour of the RxGraveyard is glutethimide. And you're probably thinking, what the hell is glutethimide? All right. This one's a little older, so let's go way back. So another drug that was discovered in the 1950s during the search for barbiturate alternatives was glutethimide. Initially, it was marketed as a safer option than barbiturates, but they soon realized that glutethimide was just as addictive and just as toxic. Not only did it put users into a coma-like state, but withdrawal from the drug produced symptoms that were just plain scary. Vomiting, excessive sweating, seizures, and hallucinations, all at the same time. Not a very good time out there. So glutethimide made its debut in 1957 under the brand name Doriden. It was highly abused, and it was often taken with codeine in a 6-pill cocktail to produce a heroin-like high. Why was this? Well, after the Controlled Substances Act was passed in 1970 and the DEA got created in 1973, the amount and quality of heroin in the United States began to drop. And so as the heroin supply deteriorated, users sometimes turned to the pharmacy to find a substitute. All right, pharmacology time, or rather scary pharmacology time. So codeine is converted to the more potent drug morphine in the bloodstream through an enzyme known as CYP2D6. Now, one of the things that glutethimide does is induce the enzyme CYP2D6, essentially turbocharging this chemical conversion factory. This means that glutethimide with codeine results in a faster, more powerful high. So this pharmaceutical cocktail became really popular in the drug culture of the late 70s and early 80s, and even got a few quirky nicknames. In the US, particularly in the Northeast, this was referred to as doors and fours. You would take 2 Doriden and 4 Tylenol number 4 with codeine. Each one of those has like 60 milligrams of codeine in it. On the West Coast, this combination was referred to as loads. Yeah, that didn't age well. Users out there were taking loads and when they couldn't get heroin. And taking loads would often put these folks in the hospital or even worse, in the morgue. Now in Chicago, because they do everything different up there, the preferred combination was a mix called T's and Blues. It was a mixture of pentazocine, which is an opioid, and the antihistamine pyrobenzamine. I don't know why. They just do things differently there. So back to doors and fours. This combination was really popular, and early in their career, NoFX even wrote a song about this drug mixture, describing its general suitability as a substitute for heroin. Take a listen.
When dope was hard to get codeine for, and Doriden would have to do. On doors and fours, we take our chance. White punks on dope, perfect romance. On doors and fours in 83, when we got loaded, taking loads, we'd all OD eventually.
So in 1991, the DEA placed glutethimide into Schedule 2, making it more restricted, harder to get. Now, why not Schedule 1? That's why. So if you move a drug to Schedule 1, these are drugs that aren't legal at all. If you move it to Schedule 1, that requires evidence that a drug cannot be used safely, even for the use that it's labeled for. So moving a drug to Schedule 2 doesn't remove its marketing approval. You can still sell a drug that's in Schedule 2, but what it does is it allows the DEA to set production quotas for that drug. The DEA sets how much of that drug can be manufactured in any given year. Glutethimide was given an annual production limit of only 3 grams, effectively killing it and sealing its fate in the RxGraveyard. Oh, Propoxyphene. Man. All right, this is going to be a good one. So if you're my age, you may remember dispensing this bad boy. First synthesized in the 1950s, like the others on this list, during the search for less addictive alternatives to codeine, Propoxyphene came on the scene in 1955 and was immediately successful. It was available as Darvon, just a single entity propoxyphene capsule, or as Darvocet, which is propoxyphene mixed with acetaminophen or Tylenol. Propoxyphene was seen as a terrific new drug and became the drug of choice for mild to moderate pain. However, this once popular painkiller turned out to be just a killer. As a pain reliever, it was poorly effective at best. Now don't let that fool you. Despite its widespread use, propoxyphene was one of the most dangerous drugs available with a prescription. Propoxyphene was highly addictive. It had a number of serious and sometimes deadly drug interactions, and it created toxic byproducts as a result of how the body metabolized it. Now, how serious were these drug interactions? Let me tell you. Propoxyphene's interaction with alcohol, sedatives, or opioids was so severe that propoxyphene actually became a drug of choice among assisted suicide providers because it was so effective at getting the job done. Combined with amphetamines, propoxyphene can cause life-threatening seizures. Also, not a great way to die. Remember those toxic byproducts I just talked about? Propoxyphene is metabolized into the long-acting drug norpropoxyphene, which can alter your heart's rhythm and make it beat out of sync. Again, not good. So Darvocet, remember this is the version that has the Tylenol in it, it actually contained 650 milligrams of acetaminophen in each tablet. So that meant that users who became addicted or tolerant to Darvocet ended up taking more and more, and they would actually overdose on Tylenol and damage their liver. On the street, it was known as pinks or pink footballs. But in the pharmacy, we often called it granny candy. So due to its frequent use among the elderly population, probably the worst target market for this drug. Over time, it became evident that the benefits did not outweigh the drawbacks for Propoxyphene. It got a black box warning in 2009, but even that wasn't enough. It was taken off the market for good the following year, never to be seen again. Well, there you have it. 3 drugs in the RxGraveyard. This was a shorter video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, give it a like, give it a subscribe, click all the things down there, share it with a friend. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come watch me nerd out about a few things. Happy Halloween, and remember, talk to your pharmacist. They can help you stay safe. Signing off, my name is Dr. Mark. This is RxTales. We'll see you next time.